Welcome to today's session from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, and we shall be covering verses 11 to 20 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamam vande Shri Gurum Dev Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hariyam Tatsat. Verse 11, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mam vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Verse 12. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta eh devata kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Verse 13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me, and although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Na mam karmani limpanti na me karm phale spriha iti mam yo bhijanati karma bhirna sabhadyate. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Verse 15. Evam gyatva kritim karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvaiva purvataram kritam. All the liberated souls in this ancient time acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Verse 16. Kim karmeti kavyo pyatra mohita tatte karma pravakshyami yagya gyatva mokshase shubhat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Verse 17. Karmano yapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahna karmano gati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand, therefore one should know properly that what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Verse 18. Karmanya karma yah pashed karmani cha karma yah sabuddhiman manushyesu sayuktah kritsanna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position although engaged in all sorts of activities. Verse 19. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Verse 20. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayah karmanya bhri pravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So we covered up to the verse 10 yesterday from chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. And now from verses 11 onwards, Krishna is giving the more thorough understanding that most people know about something about God and something about religion, but their understanding is not very clear and they are still very much in confusion and in dilemma. And only once after receiving the transcendental knowledge through the disciplic succession, through the bona fide spiritual masters, through a parampara, through a tradition which is coming from God Himself, only then the misunderstandings, they get cleared up, and then people are able to follow the spiritual path properly. And the destination is one, which is Lord Himself, Lord Krishna. We know that in our Indian subcontinent, we believe in so many gods. This is kind of misconception. There is kind of a misconception about among the people that who is the supreme. So once they understand that, then they can be more clear and more unified in their understanding of the religion and the scriptures, and all the misconceptions, they go away. Krishna is emphasizing through and through in the Bhagavad Gita that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the one and the only God, and the others which are supposed to be demigods are actually sometimes thought about as gods by the general population, because they're still not very clear about their understanding. So in verse 11, Krishna says that according to the surrender of the people unto Krishna, they are rewarded by Krishna in every respect of their bhakti, or whichever path they are following towards the bhakti. So the people who are desiring a lot of fruitive activities, they get results accordingly, and the ones who are following their prescribed duties, they get the results in that course, and the ones who are following the path of mystic powers like the yogis, they are awarded the powers by Krishna. So the Lord is there giving mercy with both hands to people according to their level of surrender and the level of people's desire. But Krishna has been reiterating over and over again to Arjuna that ultimately the perfection is only in surrendering unto Krishna and becoming completely Krishna conscious in all your activities in this life. In verse 12, Krishna is further carrying on this point that for the quick results, the people worship the demigods, and of course they get the results as well. And because they are awarded quickly by Shiva, for example, so sometimes they are just satisfied like that in their life, and they don't want to understand the source of the knowledge or the ultimate destination, which is Lord Shri Krishna. And we know that this happens all the time because, as Prabhupada says in the purport, that people are mainly interested in the material enjoyment and acquiring power in their life, and that's why they worship a powerful entity to get such results quickly. In verse 13, Krishna says that according to the three modes of material nature, there are different types of varnashrama, or the different types of works or the prescribed duties also attached to them. And this is how Krishna has developed the human society. And Bhagwan, he says that he is the creator of the system, so one should know that we are not the doers, we are the non-doers. Bhagwan is the doer, and he is also completely unchangeable. He is always same, because that is how Krishna shows that he is the supreme, he is the supreme powerful. So he has to use these words for the explanation. The four varnas, as we know, the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras, this is how the society is divided. But Prabhupada says in the purport that these four varnas can be transgressed, can be we can override them. If we come into Krishna consciousness, then there will be no segregation of the communities, even though we might be doing our prescribed duties in our daily lives. But once a person starts following Krishna consciousness, they go beyond these four varnas of the human society. As we know, Brahmanas, they are supposed to be in mode of goodness, the Kshatriyas in passion, the Vaishyas are in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, they are in the mode of ignorance, ignorant mode of the material nature. So there's a win-win situation for everyone once they start following the Krishna consciousness. So once they start following the Krishna consciousness, one is not going to be just tied up to the varnashram they are into. They can go beyond the modes and from mode of goodness of Sri Krishna. In verse 14, Bhagwan says that that nothing affects him, no kind of work, and Bhagwan doesn't aspire for the fruits of action, and anyone who is able to understand this about Bhagwan does not become entangled into the fruitive reactions of the work, or in other words, they do not come into the bondage of the of their work and their results of the work. And there's a little bit of explanation in the purport where Prabhupada says that, for example, rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on earth, although without such rains there is no possibility of vegetative growth. And in the material creation, Bhagwan is only the supreme cause of everything. The immediate cause is the material nature, which is around us, where we are, and we are also made up of the same matter. But actually everything is happening. The primary source remains the Supreme Power himself. Because Bhagwan, he facilitates everything. He provides all the right conditions for the material nature and for the human beings to thrive and to eventually, once they've realized their goal of life, they can carry on their life sublimely and attain the ultimate goal of this life. And in verse 15, it said that all the liberated souls of the past, they have understood this transcendental nature of Bhagwan, that he is the supreme truth and he is fixed in, and so is also a liberated soul is also fixed in Krishna consciousness. And the two classes of men are told in the purport by Prabhupada. Prabhupada says that some are materially free and the others are completely polluted in the material things. But Krishna consciousness is something which is going to be benefiting both classes of men. The ones who are completely polluted in material energy, so as to say, or the material enjoyments and material desires, once they come to Krishna consciousness, they can also slowly elevate to the Krishna consciousness by the process of devotional service and regulative principles and by chanting of the holy name. And the ones who understand this process already, they can elevate up to the highest standard and they can get liberated. And there's example of such great liberated souls from the past as well. And Arjuna is advised to follow such disciples of Lord Krishna as Sun God Vivaswan. And in the next verse, Krishna talks more about such liberated persons, liberated souls who have done their work with only devotional intention. And Bhagwan says that even the intelligent are bewildered in finding out that what is action and what is inaction, and Bhagwan is explaining both the action and the inaction and how one can get liberated from this material world by following the right path. So Arjun gets direct instructions from Krishna, and anyone who is going to follow those direct instructions, like Krishna is getting here in Bhagavad Gita from Bhagwan, that person will also come out of the bewilderment, as Arjuna was able to come out of it completely by the end of the 18th chapter. So the Mahajans, the liberated souls who have come in the past, who have followed this Krishna consciousness and who have done their duties with devotional intention, are great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Manu, the Kumaras, the four Kumars, the Kapil Dev, and Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma, Shukdev Goswami, Yamaraj, Janak, and Bali Maharaj. So just by our own guesswork and by our own speculations, we cannot achieve this. Prabhupada says we have to follow in the footsteps of these great devotees or the great Mahajanas, and we have to aspire to become self-realized totally by following their footsteps and following the path of the devotional service. And how Arjuna is explained about this action, we have to understand it likewise, and then only we will understand what is action and what is inaction. In verse 17, the explanation continues to Arjuna. Bhagwan says that the action is very, very, very complicated. It is very difficult to understand the intricacies of the action, and therefore one should try to find out what is action and what is forbidden action and what is inaction. So one who understands this, they understand that everybody is eternal servitor or a servant of Lord Krishna, and there are some karmas which are prohibited. They are the weak karmas, and the karma which bounds, the action which bounds one to this samsara or this material world is the when one is attached to the fruitive actions of their action, when one is attached to the results of the action. And then there is akarma, when one is just doing everything as a devotional service to Lord. All their actions are, the results of their actions are just offered to Lord, so nothing binds them to this world. And in verse 18, further it is explained that a person who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent, and he is in the transcendental position, though he is doing all sorts of duties in this world. And that person is free from the bonds of karma. So akarma is the highest. The intelligent, they will do everything for Krishna. So akarma means they won't get any kind of reaction to work, because they are surrendering everything to the Lord. So out of fear, Prabhupada says that some people, they do some activities and this is not devotee does his actions. His actions are also dedicated to Lord Krishna. So he is not even bothered for the results. He knows that Krishna will provide him the best result without him having to worry about it, because he understands the ultimate enjoyer is Krishna and ultimate doer is also Krishna. He or she is not thinking them to be the ones who are the doers, who are the ones responsible for everything, and they just think of themselves as instrument in the big scheme of things which Krishna, in the grand scheme of things which Krishna has planned for them in that particular life. So in verse 19, person who is completely devoid of any kind of sense gratification in themselves, who are in full knowledge of Krishna consciousness, that person is said to be a kind of worker who has burnt all their reactions, all of the work which is through the perfect knowledge. So this is what Krishna tells Arjun. And this kind of knowledge is only going to come to a person when they understand the Krishna consciousness completely, Krishna's instructions completely, and they give up the sense gratification, and they have come into the full knowledge of their existence, that why they have been given this human life. It is for hearing about Krishna. It is about worshipping Krishna and thinking about him and devoting their lives towards spreading the holy name of Krishna to everyone. And this can be done in whichever situation one is situated. One doesn't has to leave their homes and go and live in forests to become Krishna conscious or completely devoted to Krishna. In verse 20, Krishna again stresses the point that one has to abandon all the attachment to the result of their activities, and one has to be completely independent and always satisfied within themselves. Then a person is not performing any kind of fruitive action, even though he's doing all kinds of works. He's undertaking all kinds of duties or all kinds of responsibilities in one's life in this material world. And again, Krishna is telling Arjun that this is only possible through the devotional service, through coming to the Krishna consciousness. To be Krishna consciousness, to be kind of looking at, seeing the hand of God in everything which is around them in their life or in their family life or the professional life or any kind of work they undertake in this world. So this person will be free from the anxieties or the upsetting situations one gets in this world, because they will understand that there is a supreme power who is responsible for looking after them, and the supreme power will make sure that they get some kind of protection all the time and they are looked after. So this is the ultimate surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this person is always going to be free from the results of the good and bad action. Prabhupada says in the purport, and this is the sign of a karma or actions without the fruitive reactions. And any other action where one is attracted to the end results of the action, whether one thinks that they are responsible for the action and whether one thinks that they are the doers, is kind of weak karma, because one is it is not going to give any good results. It is going to give sinful reactions to the person. This is going to bind them to this material world and is going to hamper their progress towards the devotional service. So we have to clear our karmic accounts, so as to say. We have to be careful that we follow the akarma and not be tied up in the karma where we are desirous of the results, and also not be attached to the vikarma or do any wrong actions, because all that is going to bind us to the material existence and will bring us back to this material world over and over again. So we will continue from verse 21 tomorrow, from chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. I wish you all a very happy Param Ekadashi today, and you can hear the Katha for the Param Ekadashi. It has already been uploaded, and I wish you all a very happy day ahead. Do as much chanting as possible for yourself today, and we will try to do one round together later on. So happy Kadashi everyone, and we will join again tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna.